Well, we are looking at another set of kings. We're not looking at Elijah, of course. We finished focusing on Elijah, but we're going to see something here. This is from the second book of Kings. We're going to see something here about a kind of a cycle you see all along. And the cycle is that Israel starts to go into idolatry. They turn away from the Lord. Disaster happens. And then there is a fight to get back. They destroy the idolaters and recommit themselves to the Lord. And I was thinking about this cycle which we see, and you see it in several places. Of course, probably the strongest place you're going to see that is in the book of Maccabees, but you see it in other places. And God is involved oftentimes in this whole cycle, as you do see in Ezekiel and in Jeremiah. But one of the things I was thinking about this, and it's kind of a powerful image. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I believe it was Thomas Jefferson said that in order for our country to survive, we needed a revolution every 20 years. And he also understood that our elections are actually revolutions. And this was important. It's important for the survival of the country that we have these revolutions. And that's something that Thomas Jefferson saw. And I suppose what he's talking about is like a recommitment and a reestablishment. Well, if you think about it, you take that principle that what our country really needs is a regular series of revolutions. And by the way, we have them in the elections. But if you put those two facts together, and then we look at this cycle, turning away from the Lord, coming back, recommitting, standing before the Lord, and you can see that receiving the Eucharist is kind of that whole cycle every single Sunday. Now, by that I mean it's not that we turn away from the Lord, but every time you come to receive the Eucharist, you are recommitting yourself to the Lord. And every time you go to confession, whether you do that before you receive communion or whether you do that on a regular basis, you are also recommitting yourself to the Lord. Now, these principles didn't exist, these sacraments actually, didn't exist in the time of the Old Testament, but they exist now. And these are powerful ways that we commit ourselves and recommit ourselves to the Lord. Now, there's another fascinating thing when you look at that. And that's the reality. You know, I don't know if anyone sees these anymore, but of course, I'm a baby boomer. What was it? Someone wrote on YouTube, typical lame baby boomer stuff. But when we were growing up, one of the major preachers at the time was Billy Graham. And what Billy Graham would do is he would go into a major city, and he'd do a weekend at the city, and it would be the Billy Graham Crusade. And by the way, Billy Graham would pay for the use of the stadium. This whole thing where a Catholic goes in and you can go see him and it costs so much money. No. And actually, Council Nova is another example. Council Nova has a stadium where they have, I think they can seat 20,000, but they can, which often is the case, if they fill it, which means the seats, and they put in seats in the stadium. The stadium looks like a huge hockey rink, but they obviously don't play hockey in Brazil. But that's what it looks like. It's called the Rincon. And if you go to tv.cancionova, CANCOANOVA.com, that's tv.cancionova.com, and you can see them doing what are known as encontros, which are these retreats from Council Nova. You can do that, and you can see these encontros, you can see all this stuff. And as you see that, those are all free. You don't have to pay to go. Now, you do have to pay to eat at their concessions, And they do have Mass there, and people do contribute. They do have a collection because that's part of the Mass anyway. But you don't have to pay to go to an Incontro, which is a retreat at Canção Nova. And so that was the model that Billy Graham had as well. I don't know if they had concessions, but that was the model Billy Graham. And he would give these great preaching, and he would teach, and he would bring people to understand the Lord. And he was not a prosperity doctrine guy, and a lot of people listened to him, including ourselves, Catholics. So one of the things he would do at the end of every night at his crusade was he would do an altar call. So what would happen is they'd call people down to offer their lives to Christ. And that was the altar call. Now, Billy Graham is a Baptist, or was a Baptist. And Billy Graham, as a Baptist, did not believe in the Eucharist as we do. They may have had Eucharist in some Baptist ceremonies or liturgies or whatever. I don't know what the Baptists have. But they may have had, but they wouldn't be the body and blood of Christ because they don't believe that. As a matter of fact, some churches, I don't know if they're Baptist, will offer you bread and grape juice because they don't believe Jesus drank wine. But we believe that the body and blood is created by God from the bread and wine that we offer at Mass. And the reason why I bring that up is that altar call that you'd see during a Billy Graham crusade, and if you want to see one, you can find them on YouTube. Just look into Billy Graham Crusade, or the Billy Graham Evangelization Association. That altar call that you see is that powerful moment. Well, that's what the Eucharist. When you get up and you go to receive the Eucharist, it's an altar call. It's the same thing. And so to understand that and to recognize that is a powerful moment when we realize that this is something the Lord, that we are doing what the Lord is doing with us. And going back to that moment I was talking to you about what Thomas Jefferson was saying, that's kind of a recommitment every single Sunday, because receiving the Eucharist is a revolutionary act. It's extremely powerful, because what are you saying? You are coming to encounter God, who is giving everything he has to you, and you are giving everything you have to him. That's why it's such a serious act. That's what the Eucharist is. So when you are receiving the Eucharist, it is that powerful moment. So your receiving it is a revolutionary act. That's why it's, we've lost all this. We've lost all this in people following rules. You have to, if you've got a mortal sin on your soul, you better go to the confession. Otherwise, you're committing sin. Okay, so you don't want to commit the serious sin on top of all the other serious sins that you may have committed. So you make sure you go to confession, you confess all your sins, and if you miss a sin on purpose, it all doesn't work, and you got another sin. You see, people teach like that. And then all of a sudden, everything that we experience the Eucharist is not about this powerful moment. It's about whether or not you can receive the Eucharist, because that's a powerful moment, whether you can receive the Eucharist instead of what is actually happening. That's why it's a real problem in our church, especially these rules-based people, and you know how much I'm against that, because they miss the whole point. I'm going to go to because I don't have a mortal sin on my soul, and this is that point of the Mass where you can go receive the Eucharist. That completely misunderstands it. No, this is that part where you commit yourself to the Lord, who has committed himself to you. That's why you want to be careful of not receiving communion if you are in an unrepented mortal sin, because you are not giving yourself fully to the Lord, even though he's giving himself fully to you. Do you see that? So it's a powerful moment that's going on. And when you do that powerful moment, you experience the fullness of it. But if you walk up to the Lord and kind of pretend, now we're not going to get into that too much because, then people get lost in the whole mortal sin stuff the way it was taught and taught wrong. But if you kind of pretend, I believe this stuff, kind of pretend, then you're falling into the category of Ananias and Sapphira. Now, that's a kind of a scary story. But if you don't know that story, they pretended to give everything they had to the Lord through Peter, and Peter caught them that they didn't. They said, this is all we have, and we're donating this to the church. And Peter knew that they were holding back. And his issue was not that they were holding back, but that they were saying that they were giving everything. And both of them died. And, they died on their own. So you see what happens. It's not because they held back. It's because they said they gave everything and they actually held back. And that's probably a lot of where the whole mortal sin comes in. Because what is, the teaching? Because what is you receiving the Eucharist all about? It's all about giving yourself totally over to Him, and He is giving Himself totally over to you. And you never want to make that mistake of not giving yourself to Him. Oh, there goes my ham radio. Not giving yourself totally over to Him, but saying that you are, and you never want to be caught into that. So this is an altar call. It's a recommitment. It's a returning to the Lord completely. And this is a cycle we see in the Old Testament. In the New Testament times, which we're in right now, in the New Testament times, we see that cycle every single Sunday in our own lives. We're going to talk more on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Catholic Audio Media Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to pass the word. We'll be right back right after this. Have you ever wanted to read the Bible but didn't know which readings to check out? Well, how about looking at the Church's daily readings? You can find them at the website of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Just go to bible.usccb.org and click on the date that pops up on that page. There are other options on that page as well. That is bible.usccb.org, and click on the date and you will see the daily readings for your own prayer and study of the Bible. This is a prayerful tip from St. Anthony Parish in Allston, Massachusetts. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Check us out. Check what we have to offer. Previews of upcoming podcasts. Previews of upcoming columns over at catholicaudiomedia.substack.com. Your ability to comment, make suggestions, even make suggestions in upcoming programs. Check us out. Patreon.com, Catholic Audio Media. We're back. One of the things I want us to look at is Stephen King. No, the other Stephen. Steven Spielberg apparently has put together a movie called Disclosure. Now, I mentioned the other day, I've seen some Steven Spielberg movies. Who hasn't? I've seen some, and they were excellent. I'll be honest. I loved Jurassic Park. I loved Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I guess George Lucas and Steven Spielberg worked together with or something. Excellent. I saw Jaws. Of course, Jaws was kind of important to us because it was filmed here in Massachusetts off the coast of Martha's Vineyard, and so it was a Massachusetts movie, and we've always remembered that. And then ever since then, sharks show up in Massachusetts. So we didn't see them that many before because everyone's more focused on them because of the movie. But in any case, but I haven't seen, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. These were all excellent, excellent movies. Now, apparently, Steven Spielberg has said that this may challenge your faith. And now we hear that one of those celebrity exorcists, at least one, there might be more, saying that you may be harassed by demons if you go see that movie, or words to that effect. Give me a break. Because what are you saying when you're saying, if you go see the movie, demons are going to harass you? You're saying the God that we believe in is very, very weak. And that's one of the reasons why I despise, I don't like celebrity exorcists. And I like Monsignor Stephen Rossetti. We interviewed him here. We didn't interview him on the exorcism stuff because I wouldn't go near that stuff. I don't talk to celebrity exorcists. Don't want anything to do with them. And you talk to exorcists, but you don't put them on the radio. That's the way it works because they're not supposed to be made public. But when people start preaching this whole thing, if you do this, the devil is going to go to you. There is a certain exorcist whose name we will not mention ever, and he was talking about. Someone asked him, there are ways you can be influenced the devil, and he says, how can you get away from this influence of the devil? And he said, well, if you stop doing that behavior, listen to this. This is incredible. If you stop doing that behavior, and what he said, he's notorious for really denigrating women in his words. If the woman becomes more submissive to her husband, and the husband becomes more a disciple of Christ, the devil will leave them alone. Do you see anything wrong with that? Is there any problem there? It doesn't mention confession. Doesn't mention confession at all. One of the many reasons why I tell people get away from him as quick as possible. And it's a shame, and it's actually, I believe, a sin that his bishop has not reined him in. And I think it's a disgrace. Thank God. Because this is what happens. What kind of a God are they portraying? They're portraying a weak, impotent God. And let's go to another step here. Jesus this weekend is going to talk about how God cares about you. Well, if you believe that if you're going to go to a movie, then God isn't strong enough to the devil who's going to harass you now, and you have no recourse. Now you're permanently in the devil's hands because you went to see a movie, then you can't believe what this gospel teaches this weekend. And this is one of the problems with this image that these celebrity exorcists, and even worse so, that these bishops who do not silence them. Thank God for the Bishop of Washington, D.C. And remember, he removed Monsignor Stephen Rossetti as an exorcist. Nothing else, just as an exorcist. This whole fascination with exorcism is not of God. And these priests walking around and getting people to be all worried about the devil are not doing God's work. I don't care what they say. I really don't. And if they want to call me up and say, I don't like what you said, please do. Oh, go right ahead. I have an expression I use. Oh, we will have fun. It's because what is the image of God they're portraying? God is weak, and the devil is stronger than God. No, he's not. Devil isn't stronger than God at all. The devil is not stronger. How much power does the devil have over you? As much power as you give him, and nothing else. It was a great line. I learned, this was back during, I grew up during the Exorcism time where this whole thing started. I mean, the movie The Exorcist, rather. The Exorcist, and The Omen, and all the other stuff. And The Omen there's a scene in The Omen where the father, I think I read the book, so the book made more sense. But anyway, the father, played by Gregory Peck, interesting enough, had his son who was Damien, and it's the Omen. And his son is born with a birthmark that says 666. That has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. It was like, it kind of doing a tangent here. You may have heard that one of the key symptoms of, I don't want to give things away per se, of the Da Vinci Code is that Jesus has a line of succession, and the line of succession goes to the King of France. And I told people that is the most trite thing I have ever heard. Oh, Jesus is, because of Jesus, his line goes down to the King of France. That's like saying the butler did it. I said, you've got to be kidding me. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Well, it's the same thing with that 666. Oh, he's got a birthmark that says 666. Obviously, he must be a child of the devil. And during that age, we got that. We got that The Exorcist came out. You got Omen. You got all these devil movies. And that whole fascination with the devil started then, and it's continued today. And this whole ridiculousness that if you go see this movie, the devil will get you, leads us right back to the days when I was growing up, where they were saying, if you play rock and roll music, it's the devil's music. And if you play it backwards, then you will see what they're really trying to tell you, and it's all satanic. If you play it backwards and you don't have a turntable to do that, you'll break your turntable, which is going to be demonic. Not really, but do you see what I'm saying? So people get fascinated with this stuff, and all they're portraying is a weak God. Now, you want to get in the clutches of the devil, choose the devil, or choose something that God forbids, and that's going to happen, right? But that's you. You made that choice. So don't go to mediums, because it's forbidden in the Bible. Don't play with tarot cards. It's forbidden in the Bible. Don't read astrology charts. That one's going to scare a lot of people, because they do. It's in the Bible. Don't talk to the dead. It's in the Bible. Do you understand? All this stuff is in the Bible. And those are the things that if you do those, knowing that you're not supposed to do those, then you're opening yourself up to the demonic. And yeah, there are cases that I've dealt with. I'm not an exorcist, but you deal with these cases occasionally. But that's what happened. They opened themselves to the demonic, but that was their choice. It wasn't that they went to a movie and all of a sudden the devil came after them. That's ridiculous. And that's not going to happen unless, of course, the movie is How to Be Possessed. Okay, yeah, but that's why you went to the movie. Do you understand? So you got to be careful, because these people who are putting out these ridiculous statements, no, you're not going to get cursed by God if you go to a what's her name, Taylor Swift concert. You're not going to get cursed by God going to a movie or have the devil coming after you. That's ridiculous, and it portrays a weak God, which is sinful. Did you know that Catholic TV offers free apps for both Android and iOS users? Visit the website catholictv.com or your app store to download this faith resource to your device. Don't forget to subscribe to us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Patreon.com/Catholic Audio Media. Check us out. Check what we have to offer. Previews of upcoming podcasts. Previews of upcoming columns over at catholicaudiomedia.substack.com. Your ability to comment, make suggestions, even make suggestions in upcoming programs. Check us out. Patreon.com, Catholic Audio Media. We're back. So we're going to be back on Monday. Hopefully, I should be able to get a program to you. I'm going to be away over the weekend, but I'm going to do a show probably on Sunday night, or maybe I'll do one, record it actually, while I'm away. But in the meantime, I want to have you remember what our reading is this coming Sunday. Go definitely check it out. Don't forget to check out last week's Catholic Audio Media Weekend with Father Philip Leray on AI. And definitely when you're at Mass in this weekend, it's all about God cares for you and to trust in Him, which you can't do if you listen to celebrity exorcists. So do trust in the Lord and don't listen to celebrity exorcists. We'll be back on Monday. In the meantime, have yourself a blessed weekend.
Yeah, you know the real is back. Father Carr Chaplain from the city of champions, dropping daily reflections coming straight from the field. The raw truth revealed for the strong-willed. It's the Greatest Act of Defiance podcast with your host Father Carr, a message built to last. The Greatest Act of Defiance podcast. That's right, the Greatest Act of Defiance. Word up. Word
The Catholic teaching in this podcast is reflected and presented as accurately as possible. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the Archdiocese of Boston or any other institution.